Welcome to the Erotic Realm, where we explore the psychology of darker desires. I'm Em, and if you're new here, welcome. The Erotic Realm podcast has been growing rapidly, and I just want to take a moment to acknowledge all of you, especially those joining us from Substack. Whether you've been with me from the beginning or are just stepping into this world, I'm thrilled to have you here. This podcast is an extension of my work at Psychology of Desire, where I dive into the science and symbolism of the erotic mind. Here we move beyond surface-level discussions of kink and sexuality. We explore the why behind our desires. Each episode we step inside the erotic realm of someone who has ventured into these deeper, sometimes darker spaces. People who have found liberation, transformation, or even healing through their desires. By exploring the personal experiences of BDSM practitioners one by one, we break down the myths and dive into the reality of what it means to be a kinkster. So whether you're here out of curiosity, self-exploration, or a drive to understand the erotic mind on a deeper level, welcome. You're exactly where you need to be. And if you'd like to support this podcast and my greater work in mapping the architecture of erotic psychology, there are a few ways you can help. Follow and rate the show, share it with others who might enjoy it, and if you'd like to go deeper, consider becoming a paid supporter of my Psychology of Desire Substack, link below. I'll be announcing an exciting project there soon. So for now, let's dive into today's conversation. The following is a conversation with Tanya, a 49-year-old smart-ass masochist, power bottom, brat, primal prey, and unapologetic exhibitionist living the lifestyle 24/7. Tanya brings a fierce, embodied erotic energy to everything she does. Her sexuality isn't just something she explores in scenes, it's something that she claims, crafts, and lives every single day. In this episode, we dive into her journey of self-acceptance, her unapologetic love for intense impact, and the psychological power of being on display. We explore pain, performance, patriarchy, and how BDSM became not just a playground, but a path to personal liberation. This is a conversation about agency, pleasure, and reclaiming every inch of your erotic self. Enjoy. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Erotic Realm podcast. I'm very happy to have Tanya with me today. It's a pleasure to have you here, Tanya.
Oh, thanks for asking me.
So normally I've been diving straight into your erotic realm, but we have a new request from some of the listeners of the podcast. They want to get more of a feel for the person outside of their kinky world. So I've added a new regular question into the podcast format, and I'd love to know, what are your interests outside of kink, whether that be your general work area, if you're happy to share, or your hobbies, or both? What are you up to when you're not being a kinkster?
Well, yeah, I've got a career. I work so very male dominated. I have a team. I enjoy what I do immensely. It's very satisfying, very different. It's always challenging. So yeah, a whole range of different skill sets that are needed around stakeholder engagement and technical side of things and engineering side of things. And it makes it very varied, keeps my mind busy. And yeah, sort of fun side of things. I love going to the theatre, watching comedy. One of my favourite things to do is stand-up paddleboarding. Hopefully doing that after this. Yeah, which would be nice. And then yeah, hanging out with friends and socializing and listening to music, live music, which is a lot of fun.
Lovely.
Yeah, going to kink events.
Yeah, it's so interesting to hear other sides. So thanks for sharing. So now I'd like to start to dive into your sexuality. If you had to sum up your sexuality, how would you describe it?
Always growing and changing.
But I guess really I'm hedonistic, so I'm always interested in experiences and what my body can give me or deliver me from different sensations and different ways of doing things. But part of that as well is incredibly cerebral for me. I really like to research things and understand why I'm doing things. And that then helps me go deeper into what I want to do. So sort of chase that experience to another level and push my limits in that space.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm pretty powerful in my sexuality. I understand what I enjoy. I understand things that my body's a little bit scared of, or I'm a bit scared of, and whether I want to like challenge myself going into that area a bit more, see what happens. So yeah, experimental, I guess, as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, lots of yeah. I think as well, thing I'm discovering more and more, like when I was younger, I was less worried about connection with someone. So really good communication. Now I need that connection with someone. So I need to have really good communication. We need to understand each other within that communication. Um, and yeah, and the other thing that's come out as I've got older as well is an incredible need for safety in wherever I'm at. So I can't enjoy something unless I feel safe with someone or safe in the location as well. And that's an interesting learning for me, and then learning about what I need to feel safe and therefore let my sexuality out and just relax into it and enjoy whatever's happening. So yeah.
And what about your kink
yourself? You've mentioned specific labels that apply to you, such as power bottom, smart ass masochist, exhibitionist, brat, and primal prey. Do they all still apply to you? And can you walk us through what each of those mean
for you?
Oh gosh, yeah, I've got crap memory, so you might have to remind me of words.
No worries. So the first one was power bottom. Does that still apply for you?
Very much so, I think. In BDSM and kink, like yeah, to me, so power bottom is someone who sort of, and I guess this fits into exhibitionism a bit as well, is that it commands and demands attention. I know what I want and I will ask for it. I'm pretty good at communicating. I'm also pretty aware of risks and dangers and pushing my limits, and I'm sort of very active in a scene. Not very passive or like stoic, sort of, yeah, interactive, definitely.
Yeah. And what makes you the bottom part of a scene?
Because I like to receive.
Right.
So, yeah, the smart ass masochist comes into it. I like to hit. I like electric shocks. I like sensation play and starting to really try and get into sensory deprivation in a bigger way, because that's a challenge area for me. So something that I want to push my limits in and develop.
Well, so yeah, it's just yeah.
And is the brat similar to a smart ass masochist for you? Are they a similar part of
yourself?
It is, yeah. It's. So I guess I don't really, it's my personality in real life, like not in real life, but outside of kink, it's my personality. I'm quite a smart ass. I'm pretty intelligent. I've got a good sense of humor, and that just transfers into when I'm kinking. And so like there's back chat, there's kind of swearing, there's that sort of thing, but it's not really, I don't really temper tantrum. I'm just sort of, if you leave an opening, you're not clever with your words, I'm going to take it. And then push you back. And then also that sort of fits into kind of a bit of wrestling and like, oh, you want me to do that, make me, So it's that kind of thing. So they're both pretty similar, I think. Just one when there's power exchange and one when it's just receiving.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I'd love to explore your erotic psychology and the process you've been through in terms of your self-discovery now. You described your eroticism as ever evolving, especially as you've stepped into self-acceptance. So I'm curious to hear, what was the turning point where you stopped holding back and started to fully embrace your kink identity?
So I've always been kinky from like my earliest fantasy. 5 years, well, nearly 6 years ago now, I came out of a very long-term relationship, and I decided to invest in understanding BDSM a bit more. And that coincided with COVID and COVID lockdowns, gave me plenty of time to read.
Mm-hmm.
So I read a lot about BDSM, and then when I had the chances in between lockdowns, I started coming out onto the scene and playing that way. So that was the real, I guess, I've always kind of embraced it, but the knowledge, for me, knowledge gives me permission or gives me the safety to then take the bigger step and then push. And then through that and becoming polyamorous around the same time, or ethically non-monogamous, all of those things that you kind of, if you're going to do it in a healthy way, you need to understand yourself better. And both kink and poly pushed me into a understanding me and understanding my past decisions in what I've done, and then being able to think about my future decisions in a different way, so I don't make not mistakes, because everything's a learning, but do similar things again and again. I don't want to do that. I want to change pathway. So kink and poly have helped self-knowledge and then self-embracing my sexuality as part of that, because I'm an incredibly sexual person. And being happy, and I guess the kink community also, when you step into that space, it's so accepting and it's so welcoming, or it has been to me, that there's nothing to hold you back then either. You know, just go for it.
So,
Hell yeah. You mentioned being kinky since your earliest fantasy just now. Are you able to share that fantasy with us and how old you were?
It was very full on. Yeah, and I blame I blame being brought up as a Roman Catholic and having because I'm relatively old now, being brought up with loads of Roman films, like in the 80s. So yeah, the the earliest fantasy was basically about, I think it was about 12, 13. And I was being kidnapped by a gang of Roman soldiers and tied up and dragged behind horseback for some distance to a slave market. And before I got there, I was gang raped and then tied to a pole and flogged publicly, and then sold off as a slave to where I was kept in servitude to do all sorts of dodgy things. So it was quite an intense and long fantasy, but I remember it quite vividly. Yeah, it was quite a big one.
And can you see your kinky self represented in that now that you're older and exploring it more?
Oh God, yes. So much, yeah. All the things so part of the fantasy stuff is the gang rape and the kidnapping and stuff, and obviously CNC really, so consensual non-consent, really turns me on. There are things that I'm understanding that will always be fantasies for me, because the potential damage of role-playing these out is too much for my risk profile. So yes, some of it will remain always fantasy, but parts of it can be played out. And obviously the masochism and being whipped, I love being whipped. So I love that. The slave side and being sold into it isn't so much me. I struggle with submission. And for me, submission can't be 24/7, even though I think BDSM and kink for me is 24/7. That submission side of it can't happen because I really struggle. I need scene-based submission. And even then I can struggle with it, which again is why I find it so interesting, because I want to push myself in that space. And I guess the other thing to say is I am a switch, but I don't put it up on my profile on Fair.
Okay.
So,
Interesting.
yeah.
Okay, I'd like to ask a bit more about that later. But now I'm curious, what was your first experience like in the kink community? Because it sounds like you've been exploring for about 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah, probably. So I live in Melbourne. I also moved into Melbourne sort of in between the lockdowns.
Mm-hmm.
And so my first kind of experience of stepping into kink was going to sex clubs on my own. And I find them so much safer than going out to vanilla bars on my own.
Mm.
So I actually used to do that quite regularly. And then I can't remember what the pathway was into. Oh yeah, it was Spirit Kink, which is sadly no longer up in Plenty, but she's going to be opening at some point soon, I think, hopefully. I bought a ticket to there and I went on my own. And it was one of the most wonderful places if you were brand new to kink and didn't know anyone.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a private residence with a pool and lots of really lovely equipment and sort of quite a small group of people, 40 people. Everyone was really friendly. There was a dungeon master there, there's a dom that runs it, a number of house slaves. There's a board that you could put your name up on and whether you desired or you wanted to give stuff. So it was you were able to play with people you didn't know, obviously negotiated. There was a startup. And the thing I love about BDSM or the pure BDSM events is there's not a lot of alcohol, if any, at them.
Mm-hmm.
So, you feel a lot more safe because people are acting within their normal social bounds.
Mm.
So I went there and I became a regular pretty quickly. I had amazing experiences playing with people there that it was just awesome. And yeah, that was an amazing way to play for an introduction into that. I also used to go to I went on a Tinder date and met someone and as a friend, and he invited me back out to join Curious Creatures, which is now morphed into something else, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I used to go to a few of them, made friends with people through that, and then I stopped going to sex clubs, and it's all just transferred completely into BDSM for me now. I'm not into like the swinging sex side of things. I have kind of almost a prudish division between kink and BDSM and sex, and I have sex with my intimate partners only, and I have quite a lot of kink play partners, BDSM play partners, which don't necessarily involve sex or penetration. When I say sex, so penetration, penis vagina, penis anal, penis oral stuff. So yeah.
Okay, fascinating. And how did you feel after your first kink party?
Oh, elated.
Yeah, I just knew it was for me, and that is where I needed to try and get to every time it was on. And yeah, making friends through that and just becoming part of the community pretty quickly.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about
something that you mentioned in your writing. You mentioned unpacking the patriarchy and societal expectations of women's sexuality.
Yeah.
What beliefs did you have to dismantle to reach the place you're at today?
Oh, I'm still dismantling them. They're so
like the patriarchy is in every woman and every man, and we're brought up to accept things that and then when you question what, like, so an example is monogamy is the norm, right? Why do we accept that? Who told us that? Where can we go that says, and when you start looking at it and you start understanding some of the history behind it, it's all about control and control of finances and control of land and control of money and control of people and in particular control of women. So who invented it and why? And when you understand that it's not a social norm, actually, like if you look back in prehistory, some of the evidence that's coming out now that is not a standard way of doing things, or not how we used to do it before the Romans and before the Greeks and things like that. There were different ways of doing it, and it's just the colonizers one, and that's why we're all sat in society. So it's not that it's not right for it's not monogamy is right for some people, but it's not right for everyone. And it's just understanding that you need to look at what we're being told to do by society, ask why they asked us to do that. And if it's just about control over someone else, then is that a good enough reason for it? And then does it fit with your morals and your values internally? And I have quite strong morals and values that I've developed over my life that I try and live by. And for me, and I'm using monogamy as an example. I've tried monogamy. I'm a serial monogamist when I am monogamous. I don't cheat because that doesn't fit with my values. But it hasn't worked for me. Like the relationships were okay, but I got lost in them. I didn't enjoy them. I end up looking after too many people and not myself. So I've done it enough time to change. That's the poly thing. And it sort of poly as well fits quite well with kink and the ability to play with different people. So yeah, for me, looking at that going, okay, what's my value? My value to me is that I need to feel free and I need to feel wild, which is and I want my partners to feel the same. I want them to be free to choose and choose me or choose someone else, but to choose to come and be with me when they need to be with me or want to be with me. And I want to do the same. So that freedom to choose and the ability to love more than one person at a time, and that my friendships need to be as important as any romantic relationships, is something that sits in my core.
Fascinating. You've also spoken about questioning whether certain behaviors are actually dangerous or
if it's society telling you that they are.
Yeah, so my sexuality. So I know I've met quite a lot of men who find me intimidating.
Right.
And I've met quite a lot of men that enjoy that I know what I enjoy and I'm confident in my sexuality. But society tells us that women shouldn't be like me. You know, women are not meant to really have a sexual desire or a sexual need or a sexual want. We're meant to be led by the male's wants and needs, and we're meant to put ours to one side if we have them at all. And for me, part of not feeling guilty about my sexuality and I've had to question like what society accepts of me. So my exhibitionism is quite a lot online. I post a lot. And if that would be quite damaging if it got out, because it's like, what sort of woman does that?
Right.
And I find, so I do worry about that, but at the same time, I'm still like, this is my sexuality. This is who I am. I enjoy it. I'm not hurting anyone. I'm proud of my body. I love it that people can look at different parts of me and enjoy that too. So yeah, I just with society and what their expectations are of women, I don't fit into many of those bands. So quite a lot of the time in my head, I'm like, I know I'm too much for people. And it's that acceptance of, so what if I'm too much? If I'm too much, go away, don't be in my space. And it's that acceptance. I think that's really key, is that you don't try and chase someone that you're too much for. Okay, go. That's good. Go be free. Go do you. I do. Yeah.
So
speaking of freedom, I have a quote here about it that I'd love to get your perspective on. So Jean-Paul Sartre once said that freedom is what we do with what is done to us. And in BDSM, especially in power exchange dynamics, there's often a paradox, right? Submission can feel like liberation and pain can be transformative. How do you see this idea playing out in your own experiences?
Yeah, I think pain for me is a release. So it is a type of freedom. And giving up control when I do manage to do it is awesome. Like I feel that release. I feel the freedom just to do as I'm told occasionally, instead of always being the one that tells. So yeah, I guess I agree with it. It's what's done to you. And in a wider sense, like the life experience you have provides you the freedom to choose and trust yourself as well. And trust your knowledge, and that helps with freedom in whatever space you're in. I think freedom of the mind.
So yeah.
Yeah, beautifully said. I'd love to ask you more about your exhibitionist side. You sound like you've had quite the exhibitionist journey. You mentioned posing nude for an artist, and later incorporating BDSM elements. And these have been key parts of your self-discovery. Can you tell us more about that part of yourself? What does being an exhibitionist give you emotionally and psychologically?
Oh, I was literally talking about this last night, and I can't remember what. So it's been an interesting ride with it. I mean, I've always liked to be the center of attention, but again, in society, women aren't really meant to be like that. So it's not frowned upon. So in the BDSM space, I know I've enjoyed being the center of attention, and I know when I do play publicly, it's quite fun to watch. So that's part of it. And then the online stuff, the artist stuff, that was the first time I did it. I think it was nearly 2.5 years ago with the same artist as I did recently. And that was the first kind of opening to having someone come into my space and actually look at me rather than just photos. And that was so intense. And he was great, because when he came in, he was like, you don't have to do anything you don't want to. You can sit there fully clothed. And I'll just draw you. It's fine. So I don't want you to feel pressure. And he was totally true to his word. So I relaxed, and I was like, oh, look, we've agreed to do this. So fuck it, let's do it. So I took my clothes off in front of him, and he did a few drawings. And then I was like, I'm feeling really horny, because of the way I loved the way he was intently looking at parts of me. Don't know why. Haven't figured that one out yet. But yeah, it was just so intense. And I just said, oh, would you want to draw me like wanking? And he was like, yeah, sure, why not? And the agreement was like no touching already. So I went and got a dildo and a vibrator, and he pretty much sat in between my legs and watched and drew me wanking. And I came so fucking quickly. It was untrue. And once I could relax with him there, it was just like, oh, this is fucking hot as fuck. So yeah, so I loved that. And then he went away, and I didn't speak to, like, we said hi, online, and checked in with each other the next day and shared drawings. And that was that. And then I went back to photographs, and so I did some online calls with people. And what I found is even knowing that someone wants to watch me can make me come like at a drop of a hat. And
fascinating.
I know it takes me ages to come, like if it's a kind of more normal situation, it'll take me a long, long time. Sometimes I don't. It can be quite difficult. Not that that's the end goal all the time. But yeah, the knowledge that someone even wants to watch me, if I'm already wanking and I'm chatting to someone and they're like, yeah, I want to watch, and they probably don't have time to call.
I love it.
Yeah, it's great. Fucking short circuit. So then about a couple of years later, I was thinking about it again. I thought, God, that was a really good experience. I wonder if he wants to do it again. And he was like, yeah. And I said, well, would you be up for doing more, like putting more BDSM stuff into it? So the stuff that I'm enjoying at the moment. And he was like, yeah, sure, why not? And it was the same deal again, no touching. And he came around, and I said, part of my exhibitionist stuff is taking photos. Are you good with that? Like, we won't identify you, have anything identifiable of you in him. And he was good with that. So I set up all the camera shots, and that's all on FET, and took the pictures while he was drawing me, and then directed some of the shots to make sure we got good photos as well. And the whole process of like putting on the GIMP mask and the nipple clamps and then pumping my pussy and having him there watching and drawing, and then using the fucking machine and everything and getting the photos in. It was, the whole thing was just, I just fucking loved it. It was amazing. It was so hot. And then from that, I was like, well, I had so many people off FET going, I want to watch you, I'll draw you. And I'm like, well, can you draw? Most of them couldn't. And then it became like, well, what would it be if it was just someone coming around to randomly watch me?
Mm.
And then I stepped into that space, and that probably lasted for 3 weeks, and then I got sort of stopped it. So I'm not in that space at the moment.
Right.
Who knows? It might come back again.
Mhm.
I am chatting to another artist who wants to come draw, so that might happen soon.
Mm.
Yeah,
Something to
but
look forward to.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
So power play is central to your kink identity, yet you've mentioned that you don't submit easily. You love a battle, both mentally and physically. What
Yeah.
does someone need to do to truly dominate you?
Um,
I think this is an interesting one. I need to get my mind.
Mm.
And I guess like loads of people say that, and that's a big part of BDSM, which is why I love it. But what I've really noticed is if someone can really grab my mind with imagination of things that we can do together, like weird fucked up scenes, bringing in stuff that I haven't done before, and it just that will grab me. And then once they've got my attention, they'll ask me to do stuff. I'll be like, yeah, all right, that's fun, because that sounds like fun. You know, if something it's weird, and then the more that we know each other and we step into that space, the more I'm willing to submit.
Mm.
But at the same time, it's yeah, if sometimes when you play with someone, it's just they try that, but there isn't that strong mental connection for me, then that doesn't work, and that's when I'm more bottoming. And I think so it really needs to be mental from the start. But even then, there is that gap of actually
submitting to them. I
Right.
don't
And
know.
what about your dominant side? Because you mentioned that you're a switch. Is that a completely different thing, or is it a similar kind of setup for you in terms of mental first?
um it's a bit less mental for me, because
Mm.
so I put out that I'm the bottom side of things because that is the way I'm heavily leaning and what I really enjoy and what I want to push.
Mm-hmm.
The bottom side of me is done when I am in a partnership with someone and they're a switch and they need that as well. And so
Right.
that comes out that way. Or weirdly, well, not weirdly, it's come out a couple of times in other different ways. So I met someone when he was traveling over here a few years ago, and he was a dom, but I didn't feel safe with him, so he let me switch, and I topped him that night.
Right.
And then he went back to his country, and a few weeks later he contacted me saying that was the most amazing experience. Are you interested in doing something online? And I sort of thought I haven't done that before, so yeah, why not? And we did it for a little while, and it worked. Well, it sort of worked, but I felt that he wasn't subbing. He was using me to explore his sexuality or what he wanted to test. So I sort of put a stop to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then a bit later, we remained friends. And then a bit later on, sort of a year later, he messaged me going, "How about if I paid you to do it?" So for a little while there, we were online, very low rates, but since I was learning. So that was an interesting space to step into as well. So I'm all about new experiences and seeing what can come out of it and what I can learn from it. But yeah, that was an interesting experience.
So
So for you, it's about safety predominantly, and that's what determines if you're going to be submissive or dom. Is that what you're saying?
I think for that was quite. I don't normally hook up with people, but for that particular incident, I felt okay. Like we've been talking for a long time, but it was a one-off thing. I knew it was a one-off thing. So in that instance, yes, that made the difference between whether I was. But if it's someone that I'm with and that it's something ongoing, which is usually what I try for, that's not the thing that makes the change. I think the thing that makes the change is what I'm all about: mutual pleasure, mutual respect, and if they need that from me, I can do that.
Beautiful.
So my partner has had to dom me for a period of time first to allow me to sub to them.
Right.
and then I can go, okay, right now, and I top you. Otherwise, it just what's happened is I end up just being the top.
Mm-hmm.
So today, I'd like to dive into a fascinating study that explores this topic, which is one of the most misunderstood aspects of BDSM, and that's why some people experience pain as pleasure. The study is titled Physical Pain as Pleasure, a Theoretical Perspective, and it examines the psychological, physiological, and emotional mechanisms that allow pain to be perceived as an erotic or pleasurable experience. So rather than seeing pain and pleasure as opposites, the study actually suggests that they exist on the same neurological continuum, meaning that under the right conditions, what we think of as pain can actually heighten pleasure, deepen intimacy, and even induce altered states of consciousness. So given your love of impact play, primal play, fear play, and rough physical encounters, I couldn't think of a better person to discuss this with, Tanya. So the study's suggesting that pain and pleasure aren't opposites, but rather exist on a spectrum. Have you ever experienced a moment in a scene where pain shifted into deep pleasure or even euphoria?
And if
Yep.
so, can you tell us about it?
Oh, many times.
Cool.
I guess one of the most intense ones was my first nipplegasm.
Oh,
My only one actually,
cool.
where I've got these nipple clamps that are clover clamps, and then you can twist, and it's got a frame around it. You twist it, and it stretches out the nipple and a bit of the breast, and you can make them quite tight, and then you can run. And the person that was doing it to me had done it, and it was the first time it was used on me, and the pain was so intense, and I was breathing through it and trying to relax into that space. And then they got a Wartenberg wheel out and ran it up and down my tit. And like the pain, oh my God, it just was so wonderful. It uh yeah, I can't really describe it. It was still incredibly painful, like insanely painful, but the spasm that went through my body was pure fucking orgasmic bliss. It was just insane. Yeah, how to describe it anyone that it was just like this, it's shockwave, and it was bang, and it was like suddenly I was orgasming, and the pain was still there, but it was just part of the pleasure that was going through my body at that point. And it was
Wonderful.
And you called it a nipplegasm. Does that mean because it was an orgasm focused in the nipple, or you feel like it came from the pain
It
in the nipple?
Cool and spread.
yeah, it came from the pain,
Ah.
and then it went through my whole body. So yeah, my orgasms, although they can sometimes be quite difficult, are whole body shaking, mind-blowing things usually, which I'm quite lucky to have. But yeah, so it started at the nipple incredibly, like nothing else was happening to my body. The intensity, the pain, everything was focused on my left tit. And then it just kind of spiderwebbed out across the whole of my body, into my head, and just, yeah, it was amazing. And so that was the most intense one. But
Incredible.
yeah, frequently when we're doing anything with pain, there's that moment where it transcends into or transfers into, I guess, other parts of my body. Um, and my body reacts in a way that just, oh God, yeah.
So the research also highlights that endorphins and adrenaline play a huge role in turning pain into such pleasurable experiences.
Yeah.
Have you noticed a kind of high after intense impact play or other painful sensations?
So I guess everyone talks about subspace, and I get that quite a lot. That doesn't necessarily. So I was talking about, yeah, orgasms, I suppose, before, which seem being pleasure. I also get pleasure just generally from pain. So not transcending into an orgasm, but just my body enjoying that pain as pain. And when that happens, the endorphins and the dopamine that's coursing around my body to allow me to deal with that level of pain can send me into subspace. So then I go, it's your natural high, isn't it? I guess is how I describe it. But I feel calm, floating. My brain is still, which is quite unusual. And I'm just present in that moment, and the pain that's happening to me dulls. And my body, so from being very interactive and moving a lot, I go very still and I drop into that subspace, and then I'm floating for a while, and that can last if the pain stops or whatever's happening to me stops, because it doesn't just have to be pain to put me to there. I can stay in that space for a while, or I can be snapped out of it really quite quickly, and then you have the drop. So, which isn't so pleasant, but it's worth it.
So the study talks about anticipatory play, such as fear play or knife play, and how it seems to amplify the experience of pleasure because of how the brain processes fear alongside arousal. Do you think that's also something that enhances your experience in such a scene?
Yeah, I love it.
I think as a classic example is that I'm very jumpy as a person. Way. But so one of my favorite things to do, something that I switch with at events, so I top a fair amount of people, is electroplay. I've got a couple of violet ones. And I love that side of things. And I love it being done to me. And I've helped at a couple of workshops, and when someone's coming towards me with the electro stuff, I'm like, I know I love that. I really, really enjoy it. But I still shrink away from it. I'm still like, oh, no, don't touch me. Oh my God. It's not play acting. It's actually what my body's doing. It's that fear. It's that anticipation of something I enjoy even, but I know it's painful. It's going to touch me. And it's like, oh, and that heightens everything. It gets my body just zinging, and yeah, it's just wonderful. I love that anticipatory play. And when I've played well with people, or when people have played well with me in that is, my brain just grabs onto it and plays in that space, and it's just, oh.
So lastly, the study
also talks about the role of trust, how pain can only be pleasurable in an environment where someone feels psychologically and physically safe. How does trust factor into your ability to enjoy intense sensations such as pain in BDSM?
Oh, it's huge. I've played with a lot of people now, and so there's one person that always sticks out in my mind for being one of the safest players I've ever played with. And with them, they're a big man, very strong. But I feel so safe with him that when we have done scenes in the past, I trust him to look after me completely and utterly, and there's less conversation that's needed about that, because he's aware of his strength, he's aware of his body, he's aware of my body and what he can do to damage it. And it allows a lot more freedom and for us to play hard because of that. So that's one end of it. And then there's the other end of it where I'll say I fucked up, but it's not really my fuck up. It's about blaming yourself, or maybe feeling, if you feel responsible that you could change a situation, then maybe it won't happen again. I think that's how my brain works. So where I've played with people I shouldn't have played with, and okay, so where I've been assaulted instead of being played with, that is that's the other end of that, isn't it? There is no trust there. I felt trust at the beginning. I obviously wouldn't have stepped into the space if I didn't feel that was that it would be okay, and they would listen to my safe words and we would play appropriately. And then I've still gone into subspace when I've been there. So there's a particular event I'm thinking about. We played for a while. I called Red. He was hitting me with a number of things that we hadn't talked through and consented to. So I called Red, so he stopped. And he he kind of cuddled me for a bit, and then he started hurting me again. And then he tied me up, which we hadn't consented to, and then he beat me with other things. And I called red a number of times in that, but it took me a while because I can go nonverbal. Or red once, and we'd negotiated the red means everything's over. So he'd already overstepped the mark. And yeah, I floated away into subspace, I think, and that was probably a protection measure for my body and my brain. So like there's the two extremes, and then there's that you can go into. And so I've had a number of nasty experiences in BDSM where the situation has been taken advantage of and I've been assaulted. Saying that there's been numerous times in vanilla life, like in vanilla relationships or vanilla situations, where I've been harassed, assaulted, sexually assaulted. So BDSM is not, for me, it's far safer than vanilla life. Stakes may be higher, but even then not. Actually, that's bullshit. So yeah, I don't think BDSM is an unsafe place. It's actually safer because you have consent, you have negotiation. You're meant to talk about. So yeah, trust is key to enjoying it. So even though I went into subspace that time, that wasn't enjoyable. No part of that play was enjoyable for me, and a long time to kind of unpick it as the other situations that have occurred. Takes a long time to try and undo that damage, and then trust people to put yourself in that situation again. But it happened, yeah. So I've got plenty of people I trust now. So
good, and it's so
important to highlight that. So it sounds like you've learnt from those experiences. What are some red flags that you've learned to spot in play partners that you could tell other people about, what to look out for?
These are only mine because everyone has different experiences. So some of the things that I ask people when I'm thinking of playing with them is, do they play at events or do they mainly play at home? And for when I played with people who mainly play at home, and there are a lot of good players at home, so I'm not knocking them, but there's also a lot of people that play at home and they don't do any learning except from porn. They think they know what they're doing, their egos are too big. And in those situations, those are red flags to me. So I always ask them, okay, you play at home, how have you learned about it? You know, what are your skill set? How long have you been playing? Those sort of things to try and understand whether they're safe. But they all, on the whole, all the ones that I've met, don't quite understand how to negotiate in comparison to people who play on the scene or play with a number of different partners and have stepped out into a more public space. And for me, that's something that makes me feel incredibly safe. Having someone that goes, hold on, stop. Let's talk about what we're doing here. Let's go through what's on the table and then hand over the control to someone else. That is a key part of me feeling safe. So one of the things would be that. The other thing, and it's not communication, can't undersell communication, whether it's talking, but also understanding. So sometimes I've found that language barriers can be a real problem in BDSM and in any sexual interaction, any other sexual interaction. So I'm wary of that. It's not necessarily a red flag, but it's something that I test to see how well our communication and our understanding of each other's wants, needs, things we want to do, you know, how good is that? Because if you can't get that right, there's going to be all sorts of problems that happen.
Would you ask them to repeat back something to you that you're talking about to get a sense of their understanding? Is that an example of how you would test that?
Yeah, ask them to repeat back or just have more in-depth conversations and see, you know. And then I think you don't even need to talk about BDSM. It's just a normal conversation about whatever you want to talk about. And the level of understanding between the pair of you. Quite quickly to an understanding that actually maybe if we get into that space, this is going to be difficult, or, you know, things are going to get missed a little bit. So for me, that is incredibly important. And communication just generally without a language barrier. Another one is if they don't respect women. There's quite a lot of men that will show that pretty quickly. So one of my things is that and I proudly stand by this, and I say it on my FET account, is I'm an intersectional feminist, and I believe in equality and equity for all. So saying things like that to people and watching their reaction is a good one. Asking people if they, but these are just like things that I value. So I don't want to sleep with someone who thinks women are second class or not even human. I also, and I don't want to play kink with them either. I also don't want to sleep with or play kink or do anything with someone who doesn't value other people's pronouns and respect other people. So it's about respect and trying to see if they respect other people as well.
Wonderful. That's all great advice. So thank you for sharing that. Now, as part of our conversation today, I also asked you to bring along something to share, such as a quote, book, or a movie that's influenced your sexuality. Can you share with us what you've brought along today and how it shaped your understanding of your erotic realm?
Okay.
So and as I said, I've got an incredibly poor memory, really bad. And so I don't remember films. I also don't remember books that I've read until I'm halfway through them, rereading. So the way I thought about this was go back to talking about my childhood. I think this is where a lot of the BDSM stems from for me, and that is a huge part of my sexuality. And so I'm back to growing up in the Catholic faith. And sort of being dragged to church all the time, very Catholic, and seeing women as second-class citizens in that faith, and the repression of them, and then alongside that, all those 1980s and 1970 films that were around the Roman Empire and subjugation and slaves and things like that. And that, I think, for me, that is the basis of some of my kinks, and like the CNC side of things and the rape fantasy side of things, the giving up control to someone else, also, so probably for me, or probably stemmed in that women are meant to be virgins in bed, so virgins generally and a whore in the bed, but you know, and you're meant to be pure and innocent. So having someone take away, like, masturbation was dirty and all of that sort of thing. So having someone take that away through CNC, through rape or rape fantasies and stuff like that, that removes that guilt that comes with me enjoying my body. So I kind of think that's where that comes from. And that's kind of what stemmed out of it. Yeah, for me. Yeah. And there is that one film from years and years ago called Caligula that was nearly banned for a while, I think, and that was pretty full on with sex scenes.
I think I've heard of that, but I don't think I've seen it. Is it something you'd recommend watching?
Oh God, I need to rewatch it, to be honest. Yeah.
Write it down because it's come up
a few times. I've heard it thrown around before.
Yeah. It was nearly, it's because it's got like soldiers captures raping. It's pretty graphic, especially for its time.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I need to watch it again. But yeah, so that's where I think the majority of the kink stuff comes from.
Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you for sharing.
You've mentioned a couple of times about CNC, and you also mentioned that you'd like to experience that more. I'm curious, how do you mentally prepare for such intense scenes that involve deep psychological elements?
And this is why I haven't gone that far.
Right.
Because so I've talked to quite a lot of people who can arrange these kidnap scenes and stuff like that. I've got friends that can do that. And when I've spoken, we've always talked about, okay, so you want to do it, but have you thought about the potential impacts to it? And it's like, even if everything goes amazingly well, depending on how big the scene is, there is the potential to lose the friendship with the person or the relationship with the person that's setting it up, because there's a potential to do damage. And then if it goes really badly, there's also that potential. And so someone I would trust to do a full-on scene, which is why I say some of these things are going to stay fantasies. I don't want to build that level of trust and liking for that person and then potentially risk the damage. That's too much of a payment for a little bit of fun.
Yep.
So, like, for me, probably a kidnap and a gang rape is never gonna be gonna happen, I don't think. But the smaller things, so like being forced to suck someone's cock and choke on it and all of that sort of stuff, and being put into smaller situations that I've done similar things to that, but never stepped it up to the next level. And that I do want to step it up to the next level, but that takes finding the right person to do that and how far that person is willing to go as well.
Yep.
So my next one is I want someone to break into my flat with them. No, I shouldn't say this on that, but I don't really want, this is consensual non-consent. I don't really want someone to break into my flat and do this to me, but I would love to be woken up with a hand over my mouth, someone with a banner carver staring into my face and being fucking pinned down. And then, yeah.
Yep. And the important aspect that you've highlighted is finding the right partner that makes you feel safe enough to explore that as well.
Yeah, and the right partner with enough skills and experience as well. I think that's the other thing.
Yep. So we've talked about various scenes that you've experienced and things that you want to experience in the future. I'm keen to hear more about what ideal aftercare looks like for you.
Yeah, and aftercare is so important. And it has stopped me from playing with quite a few people who either don't have the time or don't think it's important.
Right.
So for me, my scenes are often sometimes quite dehumanizing, where you're less than or I'm less than. So when I'm bottoming or subbing, I'm less than the person. So for me, it's incredibly important after the scene to feel as an equal, as a human on the same level as them. So it's usually sitting, talking, chatting about the scene or not, and skin on skin contact. So whether it's just holding a hand or cuddling or just having the space just to sit there with them and feel connected to that person and understand that they've enjoyed what they've done as much as I've enjoyed what I've done. It's really important. If it's been a heavy scene, in fact, even if it hasn't been a heavy scene, sometimes the drop for me can happen immediately or it can happen a day or two afterwards. And for that, when I play with people, I'm always like, right, next day check-in. And that can be a text. It doesn't have to be a phone call, but it needs to happen. And if I'm dropping or if they're dropping, then for me, I would like a phone call and to hear their voice. And for me, that usually really curtails the sub-drop that's happening. And it makes me feel fine again. And I can hang up a phone laughing. When I started the phone call, I'd have been crying. So, and then I get on with my life. Yeah, so aftercare is incredibly important. And then I really like to debrief as well to understand what we both enjoyed, what we didn't enjoy, or hopefully we didn't not enjoy anything. But things that could be improved upon, things we want to try again, things we don't want to do again. So we can learn and have better experiences next time. Yeah, so yeah, aftercare is key for me.
Yeah, it sure is. Now, one of the traditions on the podcast is asking a question sourced from one of the listeners. And today's listener question is, what kind of person do you desire? How would you describe your ideal kink partner?
Okay. So for me right now, I'm wanting a deeper connection. So my ideal kink partner would also be a romantic. partner
Mm-hmm.
right now. They need, my ideal person would be also a feminist, intelligent, can engage my brain, relatively experienced in kink, although that's not a necessity. If they're not, I guess this is the ideal, but if they're not experienced, then the willingness to do their own learning is really key for me. So, and also, even if they are experienced in kink, willingness to learn and do different things and explore. And so I guess someone that enjoys giving pain, who's confident in themselves, but mainly it's the brain thing. If we connect on that level, then almost the rest doesn't matter. That can happen. You can build something incredible. So
You sure can. So, Tanya, what would you like listeners to receive from hearing you speak about your erotic realm today?
to embrace your sexuality and to try and understand it. I think it gives you an opening into so many different things. And to just, I would really like people to start questioning society and society's norms. And understand that they might fit really well for you, and that's cool. But yeah, if it doesn't, start having conversations and change how you do things and make your lives better.
Yep, finding your own authentic path is incredibly important.
We're putting it, yeah.
Just stay true to yourself. Do what matters to you. Try not to hurt other people along the way. Like, hold strong to your core beliefs, and hopefully your core beliefs are good.
So, Tanya, if I was to ask you to sum up your sexuality in just one word, what would that be?
Oof. Powerful, empowering. Empowering.
Beautiful. So I'd like to thank you for being so open and sharing yourself with me and our listeners today.
Thank you. It's been really fun and enjoyable.
Thank you again.
I'm Em, and this has been the Erotic Realm podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, I'd love it if you could follow the podcast and leave a rating or review. Your support means the world to me, and it helps the Erotic Realm grow and reach more people who may benefit from hearing the inner world of fellow kinksters. I'd also love to hear from you, my listeners, if you have questions you'd like me to ask on the podcast, want to be a guest and share your story, or if you're ready to explore your erotic realm one-on-one with a coaching package, head over to theeroticrealm.com. Thank you so much for listening, and as always, stay perverted.